Okay, today we're going to be looking at how to move your Windows installation from your current disk to a new disk. Maybe you've ran out of disk space and you purchased a new drive and you want to move your Windows installation to the new drive. Maybe your current drive is becoming faulty and you want to get your Windows installation off the faulty disk and onto a new disk without losing all your applications and reinstalling and losing data. So let's take a look at how to do that and the software that we need. So here's our current Windows installation. We have a 200 gigabit disk and 97 gigabytes is free. So we're just using over 100 gigabytes here. So the application that we're going to need to perform this is called AOMEI Backupper. So we'll head over to aomeitech.com. We'll go to Backup Software and we'll select AOMEI Backupper. Then we'll go for Home and we'll select AOMEI Backupper Standard. And then we'll select the download freeware version here in the middle. Okay, so I've used this application many times. It works awesome. I've never had an issue with it. I have used it maybe 20 times in the past 2 or 3 years, and it has worked perfectly every time. I don't have any issues. There's no complications with it. It works as it is intended to work. And the portion of the software that we're going to use is free. So now we have our download. Let's go ahead and install it. Okay, so we don't need any Pro Edition or anything like that. If you wanted a more advanced feature, there are some features on here that you could use. For instance, if you're moving to a new computer, there is a system clone option. You can select the Try Pro for free, get access to that option that would allow you to move your disk to a new disk as well as a new system. So new motherboard or new hard drives, new CPU, that kind of thing. But we don't need that. We're sticking with the same machine. We're just changing disks. So go ahead and install that. So while that installs, we'll take a look at disk management and we'll see that we haven't installed our new drive yet. Once this is installed, we'll shut down this machine and we will go ahead and install our new 500 gigabyte disk. Okay, so this is the application. Let's go ahead and we will install our new disk. Okay, so we're back here booted into Windows with our new drive plugged into the machine. We'll go up to disk management and we'll see that we have a new disk here. Okay, so we don't need to do any formatting, just initialize the disk by clicking OK on the pop-up, and then we can go ahead and we can jump into our AOMEI Backupper and clone our disk. Okay, so we'll go down to this left-hand side here and we will select Clone. Here's the system clone feature I was mentioning. If you want to move your installation to another system on an SSD, you can use that. We're going to select disk clone right here. So our source disk is going to be our C drive. And the destination disk is going to be our new 500 gigabyte. That is actually 465 recognized disk. Now, mind you, you will need a disk that is at least the same size as your current installation for this to work. And then down here, we're going to select the option for SSD alignment. That just allows the data that is being moved from your source disk to your destination to be in a better alignment for better SSD performance. We can see here with the note, it will accelerate reading and writing speed for solid state drives. And then if we do have a larger disk, we can choose to come into here and allocate the free space that we have on the new disk into the primary partition that it's going to create. We are not going to do this right now. We will accomplish this in Windows once the clone has completed and we are booted back into Windows on the new disk. Okay, so all we have to do is click Start Clone and wait for it to complete. Okay, perfect. Our clone has completed. So we can go ahead now, click on Finish, close out of our AOMEI Backupper application. And we'll see here that we have a 106 gigabytes consumed on our E drive. Okay, so we will shut down and boot into our BIOS and change the boot disk to our new 500 gigabyte disk so that the operating system that has been cloned here will boot into Windows. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we will move our 01 drive up a position, and then we'll go to save and exit. Now, if you have two disks that are exactly the same, both 500 gigabytes, you may want to unplug your old disk from the machine just so that you can boot into Windows here and set it up in the BIOS properly so that you can be sure that you're booting with your new disk that you are intending to boot to. Okay, now that we're booted into Windows, we can see here that we have an E drive and a C drive, and both are 199 gigabyte. And that's just because when we cloned the disk, we cloned a C drive that was a 199 gigabyte partition, and that is on our new drive. So let's expand our new drive. We'll go to Disk Management by right-clicking on the Start menu. And we can see here that our C drive is now part of Disk 1, which is our 465 gigabyte new disk. And it has 265 gigabytes unallocated. So let's extend that. And it's as simple as that. Now when we refresh, we can see here we have our 465 or 464 gigabyte C drive, and our E drive, which is our old disk, still has our Windows installation on it. So now we can be free to format this disk and use it as a spare. You can take it out of your system and use it as an external disk with a USB enclosure, or you can leave it in here as, your game disk or something like that, which is what's going to happen with this disk. It's going to become a game installation drive to hold a couple of games. So just to show how good this AOMEI Backupper software performs and how well it does, I've gone ahead and I've disconnected our 500 gig drive and booted back into our 200 gig drive as the C drive, you can see here. And we've gone ahead and we've plugged in a 128 gigabyte drive. So let's take a look at that. Okay, we can see here we have a 120 gigabyte drive, and we will clone our 200 gig drive to our smaller 128 gig drive. Now, this might be a situation where you have, let's say, a 256 gigabyte spinning hard drive, and you're going to 128 gig SSD, or maybe you have a 1 terabyte hard drive, and you're going to a 500 gig SSD. There's lots of situations where you may want to downgrade the size of your primary drive for performance, or maybe your current drive is a 1 terabyte NVMe, and maybe it's starting to fail and all that you have on hand is a smaller drive. So as long as the data that is on the source disk can fit onto the destination disk, you should be able to accomplish this. So let's select our source disk. We can see here we have used just over 100 gigabyte, looks like about 109 gigabytes. And this should fit perfectly fine on this 120 gigabyte disk. So we'll select our destination as the 128 gigabyte disk. And we will say SSD alignment, and we will start cloning. And we will let this run. Now, this operation does take a little bit longer because the blocks need to be remapped in the partition to new positions. So this copy does take a little bit longer, but it still does work perfectly fine. So we'll let this run, and once it's complete, we'll reboot onto our 128 gig disk. Okay, perfect. Our clone has completed. We'll click on finish. We'll shut down, we'll go into our BIOS, and we will change the boot device to the 128 gigabyte drive that we've just cloned to. Okay, we're able to boot no problem. And we'll be able to go to this PC, and we can see here that our C drive is now a 127 gig disk, and our 200 gigabit disk is the E drive. So we are now booting from this disk. It is smaller than the one that we created, but we have much less space free and available. So if you have any questions about how to do this and how to get it done, leave your question in the comments section below. I hope this video has helped you or given you some confidence in to do something like this on your own. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.